the key necktie. They invented it. It's Monday night. It's 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, and that can only mean it's time for Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson from a mysterious, echoey location. Tonight, potato, tomato, Mugato, Gumato, Magiti, who knows? Let's call the whole thing off. But not before you call us with your thoughts on this week's Star Trek Lower Decks. Clock the Zoom meeting link or click it, whichever you prefer. Or use the one tap from your smartphone. It's smart, like my brain. You can call us at 669-900-6833. Then enter the meeting code of the password. Earl will hook you up faster than a Ferengi in a flea market.
You know, Ashley, the one thing that I hope is corrected in the future is autocorrect. You'd think that by the 24th century, autocorrect will it will be seamless. It will be perfect. That's what I hope for.
It will be a diversity of languages that we can only fathom. So I agree with you. I hope it is up to snuff in the near future.
And things that can be pronounced in multiple ways. And we will get into that on tonight's show. Yes, there is so much to cover tonight, from Boimler's return to espionage rumors to endangered species. Give us a call and let's have a talk. How was your holiday weekend?
It was so lovely. I always get American bank holidays confused, but I got to see family and I got to go kayaking. So whichever one this was, I had a great time. How about you, John?
It was not bad at all. Actually, I was able to take a little bit of time off and have dinner with friends. And I just wonder, like, as a Canadian American, can you claim exemption so you take all the bank holidays?
I can claim exemption only in terms of social circumstances. No one's giving me Canadian Thanksgiving off, which is a real rip, if you ask me.
That's too bad. I would lobby hard for that one, because any excuse to eat twice like that, I am down. Hey, I do want to welcome everybody else who is joining us here in the chat tonight, joining us on Facebook, and just right away with exclamation points and everything. There's Chris Riker, John, Ashley, Earl, Mugato, or Gumato. We'll have to see what the preferred spelling is there. Ooh, and I believe we actually have a Paul Fecta, because I saw Paul from Half Measures podcast, I saw Paul Wright, and I saw Paul Harvath. We have a Paul Fecta in the house.
Oh, love it.
Yes, there is Tate, there is Dominic. Ooh, there's Paul Troutwine. We have a quadrangle of Pauls.
Wow. I don't even know how to feel about this, how to react. I'm so overtaken. I have the vapors.
Look, if you want to take some time off and write down your feelings and get back to us, that's okay. We have Scott Palm. Very pleased to see you there. Ooh, stranger to the show here, Norman C. Lau, joining us in the chat tonight. Good to see you. He says, pick me, John. I just did, pal. That was for you.
Welcome to the first time.
Yeah, and Norman is already trademarking Paul Nicopia, so we have one of those going on. We have Rhea, we have David. I'm sure other David will show up at some point. So what a pleasure to see everybody. That is super cool. Thank you for joining us on your holiday and ours, where we get to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks. Hey, let us talk a little bit about what's coming up, and then we'll get to our discussion and to your calls and the recap. Coming up this week, well, yes, on next week's Mission Log Live, where Norman and Ashley will be back in the host seats, Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 5, An Embarrassment of Duplers. I hate it when I'm embarrassed by my duplers, so yeah. So I can't wait to hear that discussion. Just sit with that one out and hear your discussion on duplers. This week on regular Mission Log on Thursday, we'll be dropping the episode of Deep Space Nine, Treachery, Faith, and the Great River. That was a good discussion on the show. Look, I think all the discussions are good, but that one was a good and heavy one, so join us for that. And this week we will be recording Mission Log Deep Space Nine once more, Onto the Breach. So that will be out early in an unedited video and audio for our Patreon subscribers. You know what to do, patreon.com/missionlog. And tonight's topic on Mission Log Live, Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 4, Mugato Gumato. It's just fun to say. And I like it how everybody had different ways of pronouncing it, sticking true to Star Trek lore.
I wonder if that was dealer's choice or if certain characters were assigned certain pronunciations. Like, did Fred have his choice or was it whatever came out when Shax came up? I have a lot of
Right.
questions.
Because Shax had his own specific, and that was pretty great. But they're
Mhm.
all very committed to it, which was a lot of fun. So
This
that
is the
would be
most important thing about a TOS era callback is you commit.
it really is. So I can't wait to hear what all of you thought, and then maybe one day we'll get the inside skinny from the writers and actors on this and their pronunciations. So if you'll indulge me here, I will quickly recap this week's episode. Then we'll get on to your comments. So now is the time to call in, to zoom in, use the one tab, do whatever you do, click the thing, talk to Earl, and then you'll be talking to us. Here we go. Things are getting back to normal on the Cerritos, where Mariner is kicking Boimler and Rutherford's hides in a friendly round of Anbojitsu. They're all on the way to Frylon 4 to investigate a Mugato spotting. Now, you remember Mugato, big ape-like creatures with white fur and a horn on their heads. No idea what they're doing on Frylon 4, but they'll investigate. Before arriving, Boimler and Rutherford nurse their wounds in the lounge over a game of Diplomath, where compromise makes everyone a winner. And they get an earful from the bartender, Honus, about Mariner being some sort of black ops agent. That makes Rutherford super anxious about the away mission, but Boimler just thinks he's being paranoid, even though Mariner keeps getting demoted and moved around from ship to ship like the Atlantis, where 100 crewmen went missing. Probably nothing. Beaming down to Frylon 4, the away team finds something nefarious. A group of Ferengi led by one Kink selling Mugato horns and the animals themselves to a buyer named Hyde. When Lieutenant Shax rushes in to stop them, a melee breaks out and Hyde escapes in his shuttle while numerous Mugato escape their cages. In the confusion, Boimler and Rutherford spot Mariner stabbing Shax in the shoulder and turning her bloody face toward them. Suitably freaked out that their friend is a Black Ops agent, the two rush off into the open woods with the escaped Mugato rather than face Mariner. As these two hide in the woods, threatened by Mugato, they are spotted by Patingi, the biologist who knows a thing or two about Mugato and promises to lead them to safety until he gets eaten and will become tomorrow's Mugato dung. Running for their lives, Boimler and Rutherford first hide from mating Mugato and their kinky neighbor, and then happen upon Mariner when she gets caught in a Mugato trap. They confront her about the whole Black Ops thing, but she confesses she made it all up just to have a mystique. The crew of the Atlantis? Lice. Martial arts? Something she can do alone. Stabbing Shax? To suck the venom out. But the longer they talk, the closer the Ferengi get. Mariner is captured but tells the others to get away. They'll have to be the badasses now. Meanwhile, back on the Cerritos, Ensign Tendi has the unfortunate job of collecting medical data from all the crew members who skipped their physical exam. There's just one holdout who happens to be Dr. Tana, who goes straight up feral to avoid a medical tricorder. Then there's the matter of Hyde. When he escaped Frylon 4 in his shuttle, the Cerritos tried to pick him up in a tractor beam, but that destroyed his ship. Now he's cornering Captain Freeman into a new ship and a bunch of her cool stuff to add to his missing collection. Down below, Boimler and Rutherford muster the courage to break into the Ferengi encampment to set Mariner free with diplomacy. They hit the Ferengi right where it counts, in the profit margin. They'll make more latinum if they turn this place into a preserve rather than killing the Mugato. It takes some convincing, but they're on board. And now they can let Mariner and the Cerritos crew go. So, back to the Cerritos. Captain Freeman gets a hot tip from Admiral Freeman that there's a guy going around faking a shuttle accident in order to bilk people out of their belongings, which leads to Hyde's recapture. They can forget this whole thing if he helps out, shoveling Mugato dung to make way for the new preserve. And in the lounge, Rutherford, Boimler, and Mariner learn more about compromise in the exciting game of Diplomath. Then, when it's Mariner's turn to get a round of drinks, she lets the bartender in on a little secret. Those other two fought off a dozen Mugato and now have secret powers. But that's just between the two of them. The end.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ashley, super important question for you. What is the plural of Mugato? Is it Mugato or Mugatos?
Why not Mugatis?
Mugatos.
like geese.
I like that. I like it. Because, see, I got called out in Vegas because Jessica asked me, what's the plural of Lego? Is it Lego or Legos? And I thought, it sounds right that it's Lego. And then immediately, without thinking, I referred to them as Legos. So clearly there was something stuck in my head that, yeah, so I don't want to get it wrong with Mugato, because clearly it's important to get it right when it comes to Mugato.
Is Mugato your preferred pronunciation?
I think only because I feel like Ben Stiller canonized it by
Yes.
having Mugatu, so, and he was specifically doing a riff off of Mugato, but the more I have Gumato in my head, like, that's fun too. I think it was D. Kelly who got that one wrong. So I haven't
sounds
rewatched
right
the
to me.
episode, but yeah. But I think that's where that originally got screwed up.
Gumato sounds like a creature who would fight Godzilla in the 28th installment of the major franchise, so it's acceptable to me.
And look, and Mugato already looks like a creature that would fight Godzilla anyway. So
Exactly. The little baby ones, though, they're so
oh, they
cute.
were adorable. They were adorable. And I guess it's only in a show like Lower Decks that you can go there with Mugato intimacy. So
Yeah, there were lines crossed that I was not emotionally prepared for. I definitely clutched my white lady pearls.
I'm so interested to hear that you have white lady pearls. That's so cute.
I do.
Yeah.
They're delicate.
Okay. Well, let's talk to somebody who may or may not have white lady pearls, and that would be our first caller, Chris. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, man.
How are you doing tonight?
Unfortunately, cannot claim to have any pearls. Well, my mother might have some. I'd have to go check the jewelry box after the show.
Okay. Well, how did she feel about watching the Mugato? Ooh, wait, and you have to tell us what you're having tonight.
This is a 50-50 mix of tequila and mezcal.
Oh dear. Okay. Wow. Just getting warmed up for a little Mission Log Live, are we?
Exactly.
Trying to go blind by the end of this episode.
No, I will admit that, yeah, the whole Mugato thing, it caught me by surprise. I mean, it was funny. It was damn funny with He Likes to Watch. I just wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, this is the kind of game we're playing. Okay, all right, whatever. But yeah, a little surprised, but still, I think a very good joke. No, this was a good episode. I think we were really. I like the episodes, I've talked about this a lot, where like they do the deep sort of like character stuff and like watching sort of Mariner reckon that she has like made her own life terrible, that like the isolation is self-imposed, and that she has to, like, if she wants to get out of that, she has to make the effort. I think it's been a really interesting to watch that sort of happen in real time, as she's like, wait, maybe I do like these people, maybe I do want friends, and like trying to balance that with, her prior life.
Yeah. No, I thought that was really good stuff about Mariner, and totally believable and understandable that someone would do that. Just like, I don't want the harassment, I don't want the bother, I will just go work on something that I can do in isolation, like martial arts. That absolutely makes sense, and I thought that was it was something that obviously fed the story, but it also completely worked with the character, and that's where Lower Decks for me is just constantly hitting its stride by having a line or two of dialogue that say so much, because they're using the efficiency of the show to their advantage, and making everything count. I do want to ask the both of you something about the Mugato, because one of the notes that I made to myself, we can talk about bigger themes and morals and message, all that stuff, but it struck me how ironic and how perfect that here you have an animated comedy show that is like, full of, hairy ape sex jokes, right? Okay. And yet somehow it re-justified the Mugato, which is just kind of like a joke of a monster of the week from TOS. He shows up in Private Little War, and then that's it, and we're done, and never to be seen again, because let's face it, it's ridiculous looking costume. But bringing him back or them back in this way, it just seemed to make it like, that much more real, and yet it's a silly, stupid cartoon. What did you guys think about that?
I think reframing them from the point of view of being an endangered species was incredibly intelligent. And I think Lower Decks is, when it really is firing on all cylinders, it gets to the heart of what is special about these characters. And if you think about animals that are endangered on our planet, they are like a rhino, for example. It's a really easy comparison, right, with the horn. They are kind of weird and they are kind of solitary, and you've maybe seen them at the zoo once or referenced once, and when you watch The Lion King, and by, dare I say, humanizing them in this way, I think reintroducing it to the canon is this is where Lower Decks is doing the Lord's work and blessing us by reminding us, one, that they put a human person in those costumes once upon a time, and two, it is absolutely valid.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I think from like a production point of view, like you watch TOS and like, yeah, that's a dude in a latex suit, and we all know it's a dude in a latex suit, and that's part of why it's funny, is that there's some poor guy sweltering in there, and to see it when you get the ability to actually present them as like an actual animal that like, yeah, I got more gorilla vibes, but Rhino's also good. But like to see them act in a sort of more wild, natural way, I'm like, oh, these are kind of cool. I kind of dig these. These are interesting. So yeah, I thought it was very clever of them that they had the ability to present them as not a guy in a suit, but an actual like living, breathing thing.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to really jump to the end here, but hey, it's the live show. We can do whatever we want. I know, right? But I felt like, as far as morals, meanings, messages, looking at this in the greater context of Star Trek, I felt like it was so Star Trek, very bonk bonk on the head, with the enemy not being an enemy, but against something to be understood. We had that conservationist streak here, very Star Trek 4 thing. Oh no, we need to protect these. There is value here, even if the value is capitalist for the Ferengi, but it took something that is so easily made parody, and even though Lower Decks is parody, they flipped it on its head and made it something that actually had some depth. So I'm impressed to be able to get through all of that in 22 minutes of content in this, ostensibly a show that's just full of jokes about inside references and collectibles and Star Trek fans, but they somehow pulled that part off and actually gave us a story that had a bit of a worthwhile Star Trek message in it.
Lots of cocktail references, though, for you specifically in this episode, and Billups being the main vehicle for that.
I love that he wanted his peach daiquiri.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was very on brand for what we know about Billups. I'm like, oh yeah, he's a daiquiri guy. I buy that. Yeah.
Just sitting there at the end of the bar. Oh my God. And the final line in the show, like, if you don't want to be a bartender, don't be a bartender. It's just so, as they fade to black and sail off in the sunset. Beautiful. Chris, any other thoughts tonight? You got a couple of callers standing by. Just curious what else is on your mind this evening.
I will say that Tendi in the lab coat is an absolute fit, and I want to see cosplay of that next year at Vegas.
Yes.
Like, she rocks that lab coat so good.
You in cosplay as that next year. Now that I know that you're the cosplay king.
He is. Did you see that Miglimo was on the list of, because I went back and I did a little freeze frame to see who was on the list. The question is, will anybody do cosplay of Tendi with the broken arm? Because I mean, they went there and really showed a disgustingly broken arm. That was kind of awesome. And I love how just straight up cat Dr. Atana became. Like, it wasn't
this season. Even the gag with the box in the last episode.
The scratch post in the box, Yeah, and it isn't so much like the Cation, like, oh, kind of look cat-ish and purr a bit. No, she just went straight up, crawling around, hissing, hiding under a shuttle, swiping with the paw. I thought that was, it's a show that is not afraid to go there. So they went there for sure.
No, yeah. As someone who has owned many cats in his life, I am particularly fond of whenever they do stuff like that. When she yowls and gets on all fours, I'm like, yeah, I feel that. I've been there. Yeah.
Haven't we all, though? Haven't we all?
Yes. Well, Chris, thank you so much for calling in this evening, and enjoy the rest of your cocktail, and we will see you next week.
All right, see you, man. Stay
Bye,
safe.
All right,
Chris. Don't
take
go
care.
blind.
Take care. It's funny. I'm reading some of the comments here, and I feel like this is an episode's a little bit receiving some mixed feedback. Chris Riker says it misfires on every element, humor, resolution, even the voice work. I will, however, bite my tongue going forward. No need to do that. We definitely want to hear all the opinions, all the thoughts on the show.
Truly, in the theme of Trek, we are open to all schools of thought.
Yeah. And I feel like, I hope that on this, I've had a very good time so far with Lower Decks. However, I definitely will call them out when I feel like, for me, either the humor doesn't land or the pacing is annoying to me. So there are definitely things to criticize here as well. Paul Wright says it's okay. Every series has a worst episode. Might as well get this one out of the way. So Paul also not feeling it. But then I think in response to me saying that Mugato were a bit of a joke, somebody, joke? How dare you? Something that Dominic
duel for their honor.
Yeah, right. But I think the thing is, it's one of those that it's one of those monsters that has become so iconic when it comes to like images of TOS, because it looks like 1960s TV. It looks like somebody going into the warehouse at Western Costume or at Paramount and just going like, some white fur, there's a horn, just throw it together, get it on TV.
It's them and the little dog in the horned
unicorn dog. Yes. Yeah, in The Enemy Within. Of course. Things like that. Like, as a Star Trek fan who's into the story and into what the story's saying, we give that a little bit of a pass. But to an outsider seeing that and going like, oh, that just looks like a really dumb rubber suit with a bunch of fur glued on it.
You watch some Doctor Who, and then you'll really appreciate the production value on TOS.
Right, exactly. So, so interesting to get this feedback, and please absolutely chime in and say, Chris says, don't want to be a hater, just felt this one missed. That's absolutely fair. So, yeah, let us know what landed for you and what did not. And speaking of landing, let us land over here on our next caller, who is Rhea, who has been standing by patiently. And here she is with comments on tonight's show. Welcome to Mission Log Live, Rhea. How you doing tonight? Oh, mute is how you're doing. You are doing mute. So let us unmute you. There you are.
I'm not a pack lid, really, I promise.
You have to make it go. You have to make it go, Rhea.
No. Earl, make it go for me, please.
What's on your mind tonight?
Great to see you guys. It's been forever.
Yeah.
So, well, first I just wanted to call in because it's been so long. But okay, I've loved Lower Decks from the beginning, and I've loved every episode so far. This one had a lot of kind of cringy stuff, cringy moments, I guess. But I can look past that.
Talk to us about it.
Well, I don't want to talk about the cringy stuff. It's gross. What's with Shax? Okay, in the last episode, they mentioned something about Shax eating Mugato dung. What was that all about?
Well, wait, did they tease that in the previous episode? Did I miss that somehow?
I'm pretty sure they did. Unless I'm going crazy, I'm pretty sure they did.
Wow. Yeah.
Be quiet, Paul. Right? Don't say I'm going crazy.
I must have. I must have forgotten that part. But look, he is a tough survivalist. Does what it takes, and I like. Not only did I love that they went there twice, I love the reactions of everybody around him, which was pretty great. Yeah, pretty great.
Tangy.
Well,
fresh.
People eat. I can't think, but there's a type of coffee that is passed through an animal.
Yes.
So
I've had it. It's delicious.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very earthy.
You are a braver soul than I.
Yeah.
So there is hope for me in Shax. Yeah.
Yes, yes, there is.
And I'm super thrilled for the whole Shax-Tana relationship that'll be coming because I love Shax. Oh my! And I'm not a shipper typically, but I love Shax so much. So super glad he was resurrected from the dead somehow. But another thing I wanted to, you guys were talking about like the whole Star Trek message of conservation and all that, and bringing the Mugato back and making him legit. Well, the last outpost, the Ferengi whips. We're like,
Yes.
that was the last outpost was a really rough way to introduce the Ferengi to the Star Trek world, and so I'm kind of hoping that Lower Decks will, I don't know, retcon it a little bit.
Well, and see, that's the sort of thing that is in my love/hate reactions to things that happen on Lower Decks. So I love that you have Ferengi with laser whips, just because it does create this distinction. It reminds us that happened. It creates a distinction between Ferengi then and Ferengi now, or Ferengi later, and a guy like Quark who gets name checked to say like, no, they're not all
who Quark is.
Yeah, right. They're all like that, But then in the script, when they actually call out, when Mariner says, "What is this, like some last outpost Ferengi?" That I don't need you to actually name check the episode. That takes me out of it, honestly. That's one of those little details that as a writer, I would just go in and say, no, you don't need to put a hat on a hat here for the joke. The joke's done. You already did the joke,
right?
But that's just me.
And I wonder how many hats on the hats are for the benefit of, people who don't call into Star Trek live Facebook shows and, maybe the more casual fans.
Right.
Like some of those also might be for people who are coming right from Disco or the '09 movies and are slowly but surely going on the journey that the rest of us have been on.
Right.
Yeah. So I can appreciate that, I guess.
Well, see, and I do feel like that's the kind of thing where if you are a Star Trek fan who has watched every episode and remembered episode titles and done something crazy like appear on a podcast for 10 years talking about Star Trek, then you don't need somebody to tell you that is from The Last Outpost. If you're not a fan who is steeped in all of that Trek trivia, that glides by you anyway. And you just may or may not have a vision of your head like, oh yeah, one time the Ferengi had these weird laser whips, and the episode title is irrelevant at that point. So I apologize. I'm being very nitpicky. And by the way, thank you, Paul, Half Measures Podcast. Anyone else miss John's husky post-Vegas voice? Yes, I do too, actually, Paul. Although it was not fun getting that, and it was not fun coming out of that. So we'll see what happens. I'll see a specialist about it. We'll get back to it.
We got to give you a really spicy drink.
Yes, yeah. Well, apparently Chris can mix one up for me, so we'll. We'll see what he can do. And Chris Riker says they should have kept the laser whips, but it's good they ditched the Sonny Bono fur coats. And yes, you're right. They did get rid of those.
Now, because you've said that, we're getting the fur coats back in season 3. I'm calling it right now.
It'll happen. Yes. Yeah. What else, Rhea? Any other thoughts in your mind about tonight's show, or this week's show, rather?
There was a disco reference in there. The power of math.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was kind of cool.
Yes. I love that. And I love the invention of yet another impossible Star Trek in-universe game. Whether it's Tongo or Dabo or Fizbin or whatever, Damjad, they're all impossible. They make no sense whatsoever. And I love...
Dare you evoke Damjad? Truly.
Are we going to get together and play Damjad? Is that going to be our thing? Because...
If that's the next time I see you in real life, that will be a tragedy indeed.
But I love that, and I love their excitement over it's a compromise. It's just yes. It's so perfect,
but
and
if you're familiar with the Story Circle, which Mike McMahon runs his show based around, like it was one of the most obvious examples, I think, of the Story Circle in a Lower Decks episode was having the scene at the beginning and then at that being the solution, and then they all play it together at the end. And I was particularly fond of the moment where they were like, we can't let her know that she's beating us so bad. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love sort of immediately taking away the integrity of the game. So it's pretty great. Hey, we do have a lot of calls. I'm so excited. We have so many callers lined up. Let's see. We're going to get to Mike. We're going to get to Dave. We're going to get to Cherie and then John. So many people who are standing by for the second half of the show. Rhea, thank you so much for calling in. And I hope that you do again soon. All right.
I will. Great to see you guys.
Have
Cheers.
a great night. Bye. Hey,
Will
before we get to that stellar lineup of callers, I will just take a few seconds here to remind everybody about the fun that we get to have over at Mission Log on Patreon, patreon.com/Mission Log. Not only do you get swag, do you get episodes early, do you get video behind the scenes, but you get exclusive access to the Mission Log Discord, which has become this social media community of its own, and it is a blast. I prefer to spend time there more than just about any other online community because the people are awesome. We have these great conversations, not just about Trek, about all kinds of other science fiction franchises, what we're doing in real life. Maybe a food and drink channel in there for me. Thank you very much. And I would love it if you would join us there. For as little as $1 a month, and you get a discount if you sign up for a year, you can join us there and get all the benefits of membership at patreon.com/Mission Log. And I see it's funny, the note from last week, Norman was not kidding around. After dark, where we do live discussion of that week's Mission Log, a life of its own, and it is a blast. I think we're all just like a little punch drunk by the time that rolls around. So it is so much fun, and I hope that we see you there. Now, somebody who we did see there and see there often, and I was just talking to today, is our next caller, and that is Captain Mike. Mike, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing great, John. I just got my table rejotted, so I'm getting ready to play some dumb jotting.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
Why you do this to me?
Ashley's going to be right over. Yeah.
I love it, but a couple of comments that just sort of percolated up to the top. One was the cat coffee, and from what I understand, coffee is much like a kernel of corn, if you will. It doesn't get digested; it just passes through.
Wow.
So the cat doesn't have any effect on the coffee bean per se. They're just supposed to be very good at selecting the best beans.
Oh, okay. So
you're basically trusting the
Okay.
cat to pick your coffee.
Still gross.
Still gross.
Yeah.
Still gross.
So if the coffee roasters could be good enough to follow that cat around, and when it's ready, you just slap that bean out of its paws before they can eat it, and then it is much more.
Now you got yourself
acceptable.
something. Yeah.
Now you got some coffee I would want to drink.
That
Yeah.
might be animal abuse.
Cut out the middleman, but I'd hate to see Merez out of work again. So it's
Boom! That is the line of the night.
Oh, John,
Yes.
I gotta tell you, man, if you think the Mugato is a joke of a monster of the week and it's a venomous horned albino gorilla, what keeps you awake at night?
Okay. So here it is in my head. Somebody, poor Bill Tice and his assistants, they're going down to the shop and they're just trying to pull whatever. They're like, oh my God, we have to shoot this episode in 2 days. They want a fearsome monster. We blew the budget on the Horta and we saw that how that looked. What are we going to do? They're like, get some fur, find a horn. We got teeth. And then the producers looked at it and they're like, okay, this is ridiculous. We have to talk it up. We just have to say that it's poisonous and it's vicious and it add some more spikes on its back. Like, do whatever you can to possibly make this thing look scarier. And I do love that it exists as a Don Post mask from the 70s that Robert Short created that mold for them. So it has this like weird pop culture life of its own. But it's so, I mean, to me, it's just such a like throwaway from Star Trek lore.
In your headcanon, it's the Arthur Conan Doyle creating Professor Moriarty halfway through the Sherlock Holmes canon. And then Sherlock spends the whole first 12 pages being like, he's the most fearsome. He's a spider lord of crime. And you've never heard of him before this moment.
Right. Exactly. It's so, oh man, that thing is so weird to me. But this episode did what I feel like only Lower Decks can do, which is it takes this one tiny little like footnote of Star Trek history and goes, no, wait. We're going to figure this out. We're actually going to spend the time to give this thing a life.
Does a masterful job of that. And what I love about it is that it comes up with a win-win-win scenario at the end. Like even going all the way back to the cage, where at the end, Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Pike was like, can't we work something out? Can't we do some trade or anything? Like he still, after that ordeal, wanted to build a bridge, and the Telosians did not, for good reason. But even then, they were trying to find that win-win scenario, and that's a very Star Trek thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It worked that way very well. Go ahead.
I really do love to see it. I know you got a lot of callers. I just want to say this. I think they went down, like you said, to get to make the scariest monster they could on the budget they had available.
Yes.
And I think they tried, and I give them props. And it's here 55 years later. But I will say this: still not as scary as Kai Wynn. Boom!
Nobody is. Mic drop. Perfect. Yes. Now, if we can come back in 50 years and make Kai Wynn cuddly, my hat is off to them. Yes.
Lower Decks season 85. It's on. It's on a space station, so it's Deep Space 35, maybe.
Yes. Mike, pleasure to see you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks again, sir. Have fun.
Take care.
Bye now. Good night, Ashley.
All right, we're going to jump right over to, it looks like Dave joining us he's calling all the way from Starfleet headquarters, which is very cool. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm good.
Good. What is on your mind today?
Oh, I just wanted to pop in. I'm usually at work this time, but I happen to have the day off, so I'm here.
Oh, how nice. Welcome. What did you think of the episode this week?
I'm kind of a 50-50 on these. Some of them are hilarious and funny. Some of them I'm just like, really?
Yeah. And this was a really for you. What was anything in particular that didn't quite land for you?
Just I don't know. Just they're not catching me all the time. Nothing in particular.
Yeah.
I happened to mention before I got into the Zoom that my 8-year-old happened to walk in when they were having the log scene, and so that was a bit embarrassing. But I don't think she had a clue what was going on. So.
Oh no. Okay. Now, Dave, I don't want to be too sensitive a topic here, but did you have to have a talk with your 8-year-old about when Mugatos love each other?
Let's see.
Oh no! I just brought it up again. Oh, no.
Well, John, now the talk is your job.
That is not a service that Mission Log offers. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll discuss the fee, and we'll get back to that.
Yes.
If I can offload that one, that would be great.
Fair enough.
I think you can probably manage, because you might be magic, because you're in a part of California where the sun is up, and where John and I are, it's dark. So
definitely,
yeah,
very cool.
I mean, there were things I really liked. I loved the whole cat thing. I mean, just seeing her as an actual cat was hilarious. I loved the little projector thing they brought in that looked like his little cannon thing. I was like, what are they doing?
From Arena, that was so perfect, because we thought we knew where it was leading, but no.
That structure has to be like the wooden bazooka has to be something that you learned how to make in like I don't know, Starfleet 101.
Well, Starfleet
101.
Starfleet 101 is smell and taste everything. Starfleet 102, how to build a bamboo cannon. Yeah.
So Shaq's only passed 101.
Yeah, he did.
And I had a little bit of some Jurassic Park feel when he first walked up to that. I was like, yes, oh, I remember that. And then I went, oh my gosh, no.
Yeah, I had strong Jurassic Park vibes for sure. Yeah. Well, hey, Dave, thank you so much for calling in. I'm glad that you had the day off, and I hope that we don't have to wait for another holiday for you to join us again.
Oh, probably. But
all right.
I'll be on the chats usually. I'm able to. So.
We'll see you there.
All right.
Cheers. Take care, Dave. Be good.
Bye.
All right, we're going to. Funny, Carrie says, "Well played, Dave, delegating that job to Mission Log Live." And then, but Julie chimes in. Yes, exactly. Julie chimes in. You see, when a mommy Mugato loves a daddy Mugato very much, and sometimes their friend watches.
What app do you think they all use? Hornster?
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I like it. Well, maybe able to shed a little light on this, calling back into the show. It's Cherie, who is calling from the bridge of the Cerritos and can let us know. Cherie, welcome back to the show. Oh, are you there? There you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, welcome.
Yay. Yep. I'm back on the bridge.
Yes.
I don't have any advice for the
For an 8-year-old?
The Mugato. I mean, my mom was very open, and I knew some things I shouldn't know when I was so yeah. So I don't have any advice.
Very good, very good. By the way, we are getting some more helpful comments here. Like Chris Riker says, Starfleet cadet requirements: read Shakespeare, pilot any starship or shuttle, make crap out of bamboo, and learn not to wear red. So those are really all first-year topics that you would absolutely have to get through. Dominic says sex ed is not on the mission log service menu. Hey, that might have changed tonight. So yes. So Cherie, what did you think of the episode this week? What is on your mind about what happened?
I really liked it. I thought Boimler and Rutherford made a really good team. And I'm really hoping that they do like a Mariner and Rutherford team up. And like, you know, I am hoping for them to team up all the other characters, just kind of mix and match. But I'm actually having a hard time thinking of how well Boimler and Tendi would work together. And I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about that. Because for me, like, I feel like they're kind of similar in a way that might make it harder to write a story for them. For Boimler and Rutherford, it makes sense that they're kind of like friends and they do the same types of things. I think Tendi and Boimler both are very like kind of rule abiding, and I think that might make a story with them kind of difficult, but it also might make it kind of interesting. Maybe they'd have to learn to.
You have such a perfect jumping off point, because you have them be polite and rule abiding at each other, but then come up against the scenario, you know, in the grand Star Trek tradition, probably down on a planet with some scary alien where they have to channel their inner Mariner, right, and break all the rules, you know, because Tendi's kind of been on that journey this season a little bit, and Boimler and Rutherford teaming up, right, is an obvious counterpoint to Tendi and Mariner like we got last episode, but I hadn't thought about teaming up the other guys and gals, and so I think you have probably predicted some subplots of the next 2 episodes.
I hope so. I'd love to see it.
I feel like they're being pretty thoughtful about that, making sure that we get all these different teams. But they even called it out with Tendi and Mariner. You know, they said something about that in the episode. Just let the characters come right out and say it. So I feel like we'll probably get that. I pretty much like pairing up Rutherford with anybody, because it's just always comedy gold to see him sort of struggle with his skin. Oh no, brain under the skin. Like
that actually reminded me more of his Good Place character, actually, because I feel like I could kind of see Rutherford saying that, but I could totally see Pillboy saying that.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. So I feel like he's pretty great. And that's what makes him and Tendi fun as well, because they're both so just enthusiastic about everything, but usually misguided in their enthusiasm. So that's great to watch them. But yeah, Mariner, you have to sort of put her with everybody at some point, because she is the hard edge to everything that they bring. And she, you know, her encouragement of them breaking rules is what makes them grow as characters. So that absolutely works.
Right.
Yeah. What else are you thinking, Cherie?
Just from last week's episode, I heard some people saying that they knew. I don't know if it's okay if we reference last week's episode. Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. Go right ahead.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Inappropriate.
I heard some people saying that they're like, oh well, I totally knew that Tiana wouldn't care about the post, and I was like, I didn't. I was stressed out the whole time.
Oh,
you and me both. So don't feel bad.
But I do want to hear, I do want to hear the full version of the Klingon acid punk.
Oh yes, yes. I feel like, you know, I'm so behind on these things because it's been a while since I followed home video releases with great detail. I don't even know, did they do a Lower Decks season 1 like DVD release or something? Because I feel like there was some special behind the scenes things floating around out there, maybe in a stream. Yes, go ahead and take a look, because I feel like that is exactly the sort of thing that would get produced in full.
I want the whole album.
Yeah, and we should get that as a bonus download. Like if you buy the DVD, you get to download it from the streaming service of your choice and own the Klingon acid rock because that was so cool.
You may indeed purchase season 1 on Blu-ray and DVD.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. So I feel like then that would have special features. And if we're doing season 2, let's just go ahead and get it out there to the universe that we would all very much like a full-length Klingon rock album in there. Yeah.
Yes.
I guess this is it, right?
That's it. That is the appropriate. Yes. Yeah. But see, now that's another thing that I feel like, and it could just be, correct me if I'm wrong here, either because production techniques have changed or because we're listening to this concurrent with its release. Sometimes in the past when Star Trek has done contemporary music, like we heard a lot of Klingon opera between TNG and DS9, some of it's okay, some of it's not. This just felt perfect for the episode. And I wonder if it's just because, the writers, they got better musicians. They just had a clear vision of what they wanted. I don't know. Or is it just something that speaks to what we want to hear?
Production's also a little bit easier because you can record a whole album on a laptop right now versus when even, the 90s series would have all been made. That was still, you gotta hire someone, you gotta put them in a studio, you gotta, that's a lot more time and money than reaching out to a lovely engineer and saying, give me Owl City, who's just a dude in his basement.
Right. Right. Exactly. Any other feelings tonight about the episode, Cherie? Any other thoughts?
That was it for me.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope we get to see you again soon.
Yep.
All right. Cheers. LLNP. Till next time. Nice.
Mugato with the sarcastic Vulcan salute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks for everyone.
Right. Cheers. And looks like rounding out the show tonight, our old friend John Arminio with some comments. Welcome back to Mission Live Log. Mission Live Log. I don't know. Welcome back, John.
Go to bed.
Yeah, I really do. I need sleep desperately. How's it going today, John?
It's going great. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. And what are your thoughts on this week's episode? Mugato, Gumato, I will ask you what Ashley asked me. Do you have a preferred saying? Do you have a preferred pronouncement?
My favorite pronunciation from the episodes was Mugato.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Real quick, if anybody is itching for music that is analogous to Klingon acid punk, there's a band called Heilung. That's Heilung. They're a Scandinavian experimental folk band that plays percussion instruments with antlers and skeletons of dead animals.
Oh my God. Wait, spell the name of that band again, because I'm going to add them into the chat on
Heilung.
Okay, I'm going to assume that this first one that's verified is that band. So, boom, they just got a shout out at our chat.
Great.
Go check that out, folks, and download some music. Enjoy your acid rock. That's very cool. And Carrie says, "How did I know they would be Scandinavian?"
Yeah,
yeah, you were right. Very cool. So, what are you thinking about the content of the episode here?
One thing that I did really like about the episode was Tendi's mission to get the physical exams from people, because she was having trouble asserting herself, and so she was given a mission by somebody she admired, and so that forced her to to assert herself. So it was using her need for approval to overcome this shortcoming that she felt about herself. And I thought that was just a really interesting way of building character, like using your own shortcomings as a way to fight another shortcoming, if that makes sense.
It absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Ashley.
I was going to say, I also thought it was a really cute way to just remind us of some of the tertiary characters who we've either met this season or we've had come up. Like we got to see Phillips again a couple of times. I see Jet, who I just keep hoping we get more of Jet. I think he's very cool. I just thought, I know John abhors a list, and Lower Decks loves a list, but I actually thought this was a really excellent way to use that device.
Well, and it was a list that made sense in the context of the action of the show, not just like stopping the action to present a list, you know. So I love, and I just love that Jet's last name is it Manhaver or Manhaver?
I thought it was Mariner for a second, and I was like,
oh.
Are they exes? Were they married? What is happening?
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's Manhaver.
It's pretty great. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was a really good way to bring them back around. And I feel like there will be more of Jet just because, you know. But yeah, what you're describing, John, is something that they've managed to figure out here that a lot of other shows, whether they're animated or live action, comedy or serious, don't always get. They just sort of throw characters in action and expect that the action is interesting enough that we as the audience will buy it and we'll just sort of accept it and go along with it. But Lower Decks has figured out a way to give meaning and motivation to even the smallest moments that make you buy it and go along with what's happening. So we're not deeply invested in whether or not people get their physical this year, but we do care then about what's happening with Tendi and her ability to be better at her job and better as a member of the crew. And that was all very effective.
Sorry, but I feel like it was a similar great character building moments with, you know, Boimler thinking Mariner was, you know, a secret agent because, you know, he's so insecure in his ability as a Starfleet officer and even as a friend that he's willing to think this person that he's closer to than probably anybody in the galaxy is keeping this secret from him because of how inferior he feels compared to her physicality and her ability as an officer. And for the show to be able to play that for humor, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And the other thing that I always come back to with this is that we're talking about a show that the original written content per episode is 22 minutes.
Yeah.
When you take away the opening credits, which I still love and I do not skip because it just makes me laugh every time, and then you take away the closing credits in any preview, you're right at 22 minutes in that classic animated Saturday morning format. So when you boil it down to the actual story that we have, because here you had an A plot and a B plot, and actually a C plot, if you want to count Hyde and his little moments as its own thing, that is maybe 2 to 3 minutes out of the episode. And then Tendi's story is maybe 3 to 4 minutes out of the entire episode. So to get across that much and to have it actually be fodder for the characters and fodder for how this show works is really impressive. You know, Dave Takeshi says it's only 7 minutes longer than short treks. They cram it all in there. They absolutely do. Yeah. And Dave kind of reiterating those brief moments with the crew was good. Yeah, it's all that all really works, and they're using that time efficiently. That's very often a criticism that I'll have of watching modern era classic Trek, TNG, DS9, Voyager, etc., is that you've got 45 minutes to fill 26 episodes, and it feels like there's a lot of filler that just doesn't need to be there, and it screws up your investment in the characters.
Because I even thought the subplot with Hyde was a great way of showing the insecurities of the senior officers trying to be so Starfleet, trying to be so impressive to every species in the galaxy that they'll allow this like low-level huckster to steal a shuttle, to steal stuff from off their very shelves, if it wasn't for somebody else telling them about his scam. So I thought that was a really great gag that, you know, was probably 2 minutes.
Right.
Running time in the episode.
The Star Trek version of the calls I get about my student loan payments.
Yeah.
When I don't have student loans. So
That was I love the obviously a lot of details in what he kept from Freeman's office. I love the hat, the cadet hat in there, and I love how he just points out like a little Gorn doll, So, yeah. By the way, Chris Riker says 22 minutes motion picture space dock scene is only half over. And okay,
Egg her.
I got you there. Yeah. Dave Taylor says my only complaint is that it goes by so fast that I have to rewatch because I miss stuff. Yes, that was you earlier today.
Yes, it was.
Had to. You had to. Yeah. But it's actually, it is nice because I've said it before, and I apologize for repeating myself. I said it before on the show where I feel like just getting through the jokes and getting through the quick plot points, it's a pleasure then to go back and rewatch and go like, oh, okay, now that I know what's coming and I can just sort of dispatch with that, what are the moments that are actually happening? What are the character moments that I can focus on? So those two viewings are really necessary, especially with a show like this. Dominic says it really took a few episodes to get used to the they smoke and crack pacing. So, yes, you're not wrong.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then David Takechi says, I kept thinking that Noelle Wells has all that SNL experience, which is why she talks so fast. And I kind of wondered about that with the direction that they get, because as we know, and we've talked to, at least, one actor from there a couple of times now, that they're working in isolation. So do they get a direction? Do they record something, get a direction from somebody? Does Mike McMahon call it, no, faster, the old George Lucas direction?
Mike told us when we spoke to him last year, because they were recording this season
right
in their closets.
Yeah, literally.
Everyone who didn't have a fancy booth, that they are live with them. So one assumes that you're getting some direction, unless, I don't know, maybe Tawny Newsome hits it out of the park every time. She's really fabulous. Maybe so.
I love the idea, though, of a job that I could do in total isolation in a class. Oh, wait. I look around. Yes. And here I am. This is my lot in life.
Hashtag goals.
John, as we wrap things up tonight, any final thoughts or any deep thoughts about the morals, meanings, messages, the Star Trekkiness of this episode?
I just love a show that can give me deep character moments in between poop eating jokes. So well played.
Yes. They did that. They did that indeed. So hopefully it's not a frequent thing in Star Trek.
Once a season is good.
Once a season is fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, John, thank you so much. We appreciate you calling in, and we will see you again soon. Okay.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye, John.
Bye.
I wonder, is there anything else that we're missing here, or just any of your notes you didn't get to? Because we always take a lot of notes, and some of the things that I wrote down we already hit, like laser whips. I do want to mention that Tractor Factor has already taken off to have a life of its own. I believe I saw a little online spat between Larry, Dr. Trek Nemechek, and Adam from Greatest Generation, both laying claim to it. About a band name.
I liked all of the espionage references. I liked hearing Section 31. I liked the Tuvok. Didn't know. I wrote, hell yeah, he did, because I love Tuvok. Very similar crush for me as Mr. Tuvok. So
nice.
We don't get a lot of espionage stuff in Trek Enterprise. Arguably, before New Trek gave us the most of that with Dominic Keating's character. And it was nice to sort of check these subplots that we'd heard before and I thought in that context it worked versus just being a list. John abhors a list.
But sometimes it works. I love Return of Ambojitsu. Love that. I love, and little directorial things, like I loved how the lighting kept changing in the bar in that opening scene when Honus is describing Mariner being
the worst bartender.
Oh my God. And the lighting kept changing on him when he'd get intense, and then you'd cut back over to Mariner. It was the spotlight. She's in the dark. It was just really clever directorial stuff. Ashley, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to do the show and have a check-in on a Monday night and talk to our lovely listeners.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with my audio from the undisclosed location in the Delta Quadrant, from which I am calling in from. And may the prophets bless Earl or whoever has to edit this after.
Well, thanks so much. And with that, Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, executive producer Rod Roddenberry. Technical production on Mission Log Live by the indescribable Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcasts. If you would like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/missionlog. Thank you to everyone who joined us live or later. Stay safe, stay healthy. Don't forget, their genitals are sensitive to phaser fire. We will see you next week.